Good afternoon. Happy Saturday. My name is Martin Cowart, and welcome to Noonday Meditations and Contemplative Prayer. We gather here every day at noon, Monday through Saturday, Eastern Daylight Time, to love and support each other through the unknown territories of this pandemic. There is no shortage of fear right now. The fear of the unknown, those dragons that guard us from those lands we seem to be afraid of because we don't know what's there. But if you look at history and you look at the old maps, I used to have on old maps, I used to always put dragons at the edge of the map of what was known with a big warning sign: beware, dragons ahead. Well, we all know dragons don't really exist. And just like dragons don't exist, fear is really an illusion of the egoic mind. But it feels pretty real because it's based on our previous experiences and life experiences, and some of those were painful. And it all comes down to this: are we willing to step beyond our comfort zone? Well, we are, or we wouldn't be here. The thing is, we're not asked to do it alone. It's just too scary. The journey is just too scary to make alone. That's why we have to come here together to love and support each other, read from some scripture and from wisdom from the sages of the past, from Jesus and even Buddha and all of the teachers and the prophets that have provided wisdom for us to achieve what we might call a higher level of consciousness. Jesus often talked about the kingdom of heaven is at hand. And all of his instructions really were about how to get into what's known as the kingdom of heaven. Now, the kingdom of heaven is no geographic place we go to, our souls go to if we're good little boys and girls after we die. The kingdom of heaven is what Jesus referred to that higher level of consciousness within us, that divine self, that creative self within us. And one of the surest and the quickest way, according to Jesus and everything we've learned, is through meditation and contemplative prayer, where we stop and let go of all of these egoic beliefs around fear and not enough and scarcity and all the things that keep us prisoned. Because you see, freedom is this interesting thing. We say we have freedom in the external world, but if we don't have freedom inside ourselves, freedom to love each other, to love ourselves, and to love this life, how can we really enjoy the freedoms that are afforded to us by our Constitution? So we sit in this uncomfortable paradox of knowing, of trying to find freedom. We first have to start with ourselves. And I got to tell you, we're sitting in a really uncomfortable paradox. We don't know what's going to happen at the other side of this pandemic. But I can say this: the creator of the universe is here. Whether you call that God, you call that the divine feminine, you call that reality as it is, you call that life, you call that love, whatever that is, but that creative life force is definitely here. We're here, or we wouldn't be here. And I have truly believe in the creative life force of love, not the emotion of love, which we can all feel and understand, but really the creative power of love. That same creative power that created everything. But the egoic mind does not understand what it doesn't know, and it doesn't like that. So it creates this dragon to guard the gate of the unknown, to keep us from going there. But we're not going to listen to that. We're not afraid of the dragon. We're going to stop. We're going to get still. We're going to face that dragon right in his face. And we're going to say, you know what? I love you. I love this life, and I'm not afraid of you. I'm not afraid of the unknown. I'm going to actually fall in love with the unknown. I'm going to kiss that dragon. I'm going to get intimate with that dragon. I'm going to get intimate with fear. I'm going to get to know fear. That's Know. Get to know fear and take its power out. Because when we can bring fear into the heart space, it evolves. It dissolves. All these narcissistic fears actually don't exist. But they seem real. Even our biggest fear, which is the fear of death, is not real. Because the part of us that lives never dies. It's always present. It was here when we got here. Life was here when we got here in this physical form. Martin got here. And it will be here when I leave. That's the same for everyone. So let's enjoy these few moments we have here without fear and get to know fear. Get to experience fear, hug fear, embrace fear, and see what's on the other side from a place of love and curiosity. I want to read a little bit about what Richard Rohr has to say about dragons and fear today. It's called Fear of Dragons. And he says this: Jesus meant when he said, "Forgive them, they know not what they do." They don't know. They're ignorant. They do not know what they do. The vast majority of people remain in the first levels of conscious development. The gospel of Jesus will always be a minority position, as well mystical Judaism, Islam, and Buddhism. The mystery of life is what we're talking about. That formless, tasteless experience of life that we're all having, but we cannot, it's a mystery. We can't put our finger on it. And if we're not willing to be led through our fears and our anxieties, we will never see or grow. We must always move from one level to a level we don't completely understand yet. Every step up the ladder of moral development, somebody's here. There's my cousin Mary Jo. Hey, Mary Jo. Glad to have you here today. And again, anybody else that's joining me on this Saturday, please put your name in the chat box so I know you're here and just say hello. It's always nice to know when people are here, and it's just great to be with you on this Saturday afternoon. Every step of the ladder of moral development is taken in semi-darkness by the light of faith. The greatest barrier to the next level of consciousness is our comfort and the greatest barrier to our next level of consciousness is our comfort and control at the one we are in right now. There are a lot of people who just want to go back to normal. They say they do, but I'm not so sure that's true. I know we want to get to something where we can go out and hug each other again. That's for sure. But I don't know that we want to. Hey, Michael, how are you doing today? Nice to see you. Thanks for joining. Haven't seen you in a while. So glad you could join us today for our noonday meditation and contemplative prayer. We're talking about dragons and fear the fear of the unknown. And I'm reading a little bit from Richard Rohr's book, Everything Belongs. The greatest barrier to our next level of consciousness is our comfort and control at the one where we are right now. That's pretty true. That's why we feel sort of uncomfortable, because we don't know what's on the other side of this coronavirus. Our first response to anything calling us to truth, greatness, goodness, or morality at a higher level will be increased anxiety. Do we feel some increased anxiety? I know I sure. We don't just say, "Isn't this wonderful?" Instead, we recoil in terror and say, "I don't know if I want to go there." At the edges of medieval maps was frequently penciled the warning, "Here be dragons." We confront these dragons when we approach the edge of our comfort level. He must be wrong. That's not true. That's our usual first response when we're required to a higher level. But if we haven't been trained to recognize our fears and let go of them, we will feed them. I think one of the biggest ways to feed our fears is to turn on the news. If you want me to give you some practical advice, turn off the news. It will pull you into all your drama and all your fears in a heartbeat. That's for me. And I can't do anything about 98% of what I see except stop, listen, and then change who I vote for and speak the truth and look for resolutions. The most distressing letters I get are from people who feel they must put you back in their box. They try to dismiss or shame anyone calling them out of their comfort zone. For if you are right, they think they might have to change or admit they are wrong. But of course, they're still thinking egocentrically in terms of right and wrong and win and lose. You see, our egos always have to win, always have to be superior at all costs. That's the egoic mind's way of protecting itself. And that's why it creates fear. No wonder they can't find the truth. How wonderful if we are free to say, could 10% of what she is saying perhaps be true? That would be a win win situation. So, how can we create more win win situations in the world right now? How can we turn this whole COVID-19 pandemic into a win win situation right this minute? We don't have to wait for anything. We can begin recreating a new world built on love and compassion and truth and abundance so that everybody can participate in the resources of this planet. And there are abundance of them. There is no lack of resources. So let's begin right now letting go of our old fear of scarcity and not enough and all those things that keep us trapped because they're not true. There is plenty. There is more than enough resources. It's ridiculous to think that this creator of this vast universe would have created planet Earth with some lack of resources for us to grow and prosper. But yet, the ego will lead you to believe that that is true. It's not true. It's a lie. But that single lie, that lie of scarcity, that lie of not enough, is the underlying root cause of so much suffering. Let's call that the scarcity dragon. Oh, you better get your share. There's not enough for everybody else. And the output of that is greed and hoarding and manipulation to get your way. We don't need that. They don't need to happen. We don't have to do that. That's all fear driven. We just have to fall back into love. And we can do it together. We can't do it alone. It's just too hard. So let's ask for that kind of openness to see more fully. God alone seems capable of guiding us through these transitional and dark stages. We by ourselves will always panic and run. So we need to recognize those initial anxiety responses at what that effective charge feels like. So we need to recognize those initial anxiety responses in what that effective charge feels like. So we need to understand the kinesthetic, the bodily knowing. Feel the emotion in your body. The body always tells the truth. You do know that. You can always tell when someone's not telling the truth because their body response is relaying a different message. They're not aligned. Their body and their voice are not in alignment. The body always tells the truth. Pretty cool, right? Bodily responses are not always as obvious as sweat under the arms. They often involve getting in touch and starting to trust and feel. I'll be honest, I'm not so good at this yet. I just know it to be true. This is Richard Rohr speaking. Women tend to be much better at bodily knowing than men are. You know, I've been involved in something called the Mankind Project for years, and what we do is we teach social emotional leadership. And we've discovered that if you want to create really good leaders, we have to hone those social emotional leadership skills. Skills like transparency to create bonds of trust. We have to be able to practice and hone skills of empathy. We have to practice and be able to master skills around compassion. And then we have to be competent at whatever our job is. But the more important skills for leadership are those softer skills, those social emotional skills of compassion and empathy and trust with transparency, being able to be honest with the world. That's how we create really powerful leaders in the world. That's how you can become a powerful leader yourself. Because we're all powerful leaders if we're just willing to step into that truth and be compassionate and be empathetic and be grateful for having those emotional feeling responses to the world. Yeah. We've joked about it as women's intuition, but I think, and I think this is true, it's simply the state of body and mind in union that's been more damaged in the male. I have no doubt we men have had a harder time in some ways. Be patient with us. I suppose we separated mind from body for centuries to survive as hunters and warriors and slave laborers. And we have separated our minds from our bodies to survive in this very fear-driven economic survival of the fittest economic system. And it's time for that to implode, and thank God it is. Because it's this old fear-driven economic system implodes on itself, we can have space for a new economy to arise from the ashes. An economy, again, built on trust, built on love, built on compassion, built on abundance and prosperity that would include everyone, because everyone matters. Everyone. And I especially mean those who've been marginalized by the current economic system that's only favored a few. So there's no wonder that we men and women too have had to separate ourselves from our feelings in order to survive in this really toxic economic environment. I mean, there's good things in it too, like everything. Like there's a gold in the shadow. I don't want to mean that. I think the capitalistic system itself is quite beautiful, free markets and all those. But when it's abused, there's a shadow side to it. What we're talking about. So don't get me wrong. I am a firm believer in the free markets and a capitalistic system that supports, but I want money to become an expression of love. So all can prosper in it as an exchange for our goods and services, an expression of love in exchange for all of our gifts that we can share with one another. It becomes a currency of exchange, a love expression of currency for exchange of gifts and talents. Just think of an economic system that was built on that concept. And it's not just people like Eckhart Tolle talking about this stuff. We're talking about Ray Dalio. We're talking about people like Tony Robbins. Major financial influencers are spreading this same concept of moving out of this fear-driven economy and into a love-driven economy that promotes creativity. And can you just imagine how fast and how exciting the world would be, and if we were all creating instead of doing and working and trying to make money, we were actually creating and bringing our gifts to the fullest possible way to the world. Men have been put in this game for centuries. To put yourself in the front lines of war, you need to disassociate. That's true. That's the price men have paid for power. A false sense of power, I'm going to say. We surrendered our kinesthetic knowing and unfortunately much of our soul. So let's get a little bit of our soul back and do a little meditation today. And let's set it on the timer and let's meditate. Let's spend a little time meditating today. That's what we're here. That's the best way to plug into that higher creativity, that higher source of power. I'm going to set it for 20 minutes and off we go. I'm going to ask you, we just raise your hands in the air and wiggle your fingers, wiggle your toes. Feel the life force within you. Feel the vibrancy of life. Just feel what it feels like. Raise your arm in gratitude for life itself. Feel that wonderful life force energy moving through your body in the moment. Just for a second, just begin to bring your awareness into your body, into your emotions. Now bring your hands down and put them over your heart. And with compassion, get still and just feel the beating of your heart right now. The miracle of the human heartbeat, your human heart. As oxygen from the outside, as spirit comes in through the nostrils and down the throat into the lungs, and then begins to mix with our blood to create that life within us. That is the truth of who we are. We are this life force. So hold that with compassion and feel whatever you're feeling. Because I'll tell you something else. What we're often feeling is not just our own feelings, but because we're all connected through our emotions, we're feeling each other. That's how we connect. So if you're feeling sadness, if you're feeling fear, if you're feeling grief, or you're feeling joy, all those are welcome. Because that's how we connect with each other. So welcome all those feelings into your heart right now. And begin to let go of any thoughts, beliefs, opinions, and judgments you have about this world. Just bring them down literally into your heart space and let them go. Hold on to nothing. Nothing. Not one thought. Not one belief. Not one opinion. Not one idea of what's right or wrong, good or bad. Hold on to nothing. Nothing. And fall back into that wonderful cloud of unknowing. The cloud of unknowing. Face the fear of the unknown by falling in love with it, getting intimate with it, creating space for it. Feel your heart opening to the vastness of the unknown, to the emptiness. And just feel the emptiness of life itself. With plenty of room and plenty of resources to create something magnificent. Every single moment. Open your heart to that truth. Hold your fear in your hands. Hold my fear in your hands. Hold the fear of the worlds in your hands and the hands of the divine that are within your hands. The divine within, it's not something out there. It's within us. And when Jesus talked about the kingdom of heaven is at hand, that's what he's talking about. That higher level of consciousness that we're opening our hearts to right now. So again, let go and just know I am not me. That's my mantra. I am not me. It comes from one of the most powerful statements in scriptures, which is be still and know that I am God. Now I add the not me to it because my little egoic brain can get very confused and think I'm talking about Martin. Well, I'm gonna show you I'm not talking about Martin. But I add that I am not me on there just to make sure we're clear of which I am we're talking about. The big I, not the little I, me. It's a strange paradox, isn't it? To claim the divine within, but that's exactly what our spiritual teachers taught us. To be still and know that I am the creative force of the universe, but not me. I am not me. And just allow yourself to breathe on that mantra and let go of everything else until that even dissolves into nothingness. I am not me. I am not me. I am not me. Welcome back. Again, thank you for joining me today for our noonday meditation and contemplative prayer um, moment together. As we face our fears, look at our dragons. We often talk about slaying the dragon, but I want to get to know the dragon. KNOW. Get to know fear, and there's no fear. The more we get to know fear, KNOW fear, there is no fear. There's only love. What's on the other side is love and prosperity and truth. On the other side of fear is the truth. There's a world of abundance. Just step into it. Be true to yourself. Love your neighbor. Love your God. Love everything with all your heart and soul. And as we align our bodies, our minds, and our souls all within the creation of love itself, we have the opportunity in this moment, right now, to create a whole new world, a whole new economic system grounded in love, prosperity, and truth, and abundance, and empathy, and compassion. All of that heart space. If we bring that to ourselves and then we bring that into a collective new world, just imagine, just imagine a world where everyone is free and everyone's appreciated and everyone is loved because everyone matters. And there's more than enough here for everyone to enjoy life and prosper. May love and prosperity prevail. Thank you for joining me today.